If you live in a house owned by your spouse and he or she unexpectedly files for bankruptcy, this is how it will affect you. So I've been getting a few cases lately this month where, there was a person who runs a business, but the spouse, which is likely yourself, don't run the business, do a PAYG job, but you have a joint loan. So then the spouse, who's obviously runs a business, has a lot of unsecured debt. And obviously the business went, right, after many attempts, months, years of trying, right? And the bad debt just accrues. And then finally, he's like, damn it. Or she's like, damn it, I've got to file for bankruptcy. Now, to address a very common myth is that if your spouse goes bankrupt, you don't quote unquote automatically go bankrupt by proxy as well. But then you'd be like, hey Q, well, I co-own the home. I'm part of the mortgage. I'm the title ownership of that property. So if, the unsecured debtors or the creditors are chasing after my partner and going for that property to pay off all the debts, wouldn't that affect me? Well, you do have a chance to retain by purchasing the other spouse's, say for example, you are tenant in common, 50-50% share. The black part is, the person that's going down the drain to buy that part, and then you assume 100% ownership. But under the Australian Financial Security Authority, which you guys can Google, the consequences of bankruptcy, but I read it for you anyway, there will be a pimp, well, in their words, a trustee, but the bloody pimp will basically take control of how your bankruptcy is dictated. So basically, your spouse who's going bankrupt is the hoe, and the government is the pimp. And the pimp then controls what the hoe does. So if the partner of the hoe is trying to buy the other party off, which is the other 50%, right? Well, for you to buy that part over to retain the full 100% ownership, you got to go through the pimp. And not just that, the trustee / the pimp also controls the way your income and employment and business amount is distributed to you. And also, you are not released from all debts just because you're going bankrupt. And also, it affects your ability to travel. So for example, you want to go to Europe, well, you got to ask the pimp. And if the PIMP says no, you can't go. And on top of that, you'll be permanently on the insolvency index. And in the next 5 years, you can't get any finance. But back to you, because the pimp is trying to sell the assets, which includes your house and your property, which you co-own with the hoe. By the way, not to appear disrespectful to all the self-employed people who try really hard to run a business, what I mean by hoe, it stands for Heroes of Entrepreneurs. You guys are heroes of entrepreneurs. Like, I'm a hoe as well, but I'm just not bankrupt yet because I'm keeping my pimp at bay. Now, I'm dealing with a few cases where the spouse is trying to purchase the other share of the bankruptcy, and the trustee is like, yeah, go for it. The pimp isn't that bad. It's like, yeah, go for it, right? The problem is massive arrears in the mortgage repayments, or the PAYG person might not have the income to cover the other person's debt. So we're exploring a lot of different options through non-banks, major banks like, F you, go away. So hopefully I can really go through those scenarios and successfully get them done. So I can give you a case study. If you have any questions, if you're going through the same scenario I'm talking about, reach out, happy to help you. Jump in the comments, let me know what you think.